On Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall explore the changing narratives of the girl child.
Okay, Claire, I know you're excited because of today's topic.
I mean, we should. We all should. You are a father, and you know what's happening to the girl child.
Anyway, that's our topic today. She's beautiful, strong, resilient, and brilliant. Life may test her, but she never breaks.
Absolutely, and she stands tall, defying the odds, pushing through the noise. She's the girl child, often underestimated, but never powerless.
You're right, Claire. She struggles sometimes, setting boundaries, fighting back against limits. Yet, her voice remains her strength.
That's right. And that voice, however, is unfortunately constantly threatened. By what? Cultural norms, traditions, and age-old limitations.
Limited access to education, poverty, early marriage, and gender-based violence, to female genital mutilation, domestic labor, and insecurity. The challenges are many, and they stare us right in the face.
Indeed, the myriad of them. Even in politics, the story is not any different. In a country of more than 200 million people, you can imagine only 4 women sit in the Senate out of the 109 members. Of course, we're talking about the 10th Senate.
And just 17 women in the House of Representatives, no female governor, only 8 deputy governors across 36 states.
All right. These numbers tell a story of exclusion. They say women still, are too far from the decision-making table.
According to the Global Gender Gap Index, Nigeria ranks 130 out of 166 countries in gender equity.
Exactly. And back home here, the 2022 National Bureau of Statistics, the multidimensional poverty index that we have, shows that poverty hits the girl child hardest in areas like education, food, health care, and other basic services.
Well, the good thing is that besides all this, the girl child's spirit remains unbowed. She still dreams and she still pushes.
And the dream will never stop. As Maya Angelou once said, I love to see a young girl go out and grab the world by the lapels. But here's the question. Do we give her enough room to grab it?
Well, that's a big question, Claire. And that's our focus this morning, creating space, building support, and giving voice to the girl child. I am Ademola Adeoye.
Well, she has a voice, but we need to hear it. We need to hear that voice loud and clear. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria today. I am Claire Adelabu Abdurrazak. Welcome back to Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. You know what? The story of the girl child is usually written on the margins of culture, tradition, and so on and so forth. Choice, exclusion, and all of that. But somewhere, the girl child, or should I say, a brave girl is, at the boardroom. A brave girl is operating a digital platform. A brave girl is, in the entertainment, music, all over the place, trying to make her voice heard. And indeed, that's a narration or a narrative that we hope to change or sustain or even make better. And not just the girl child. The woman in the rural area is also waiting for someone to hear her own version, her own story. So today on Good Morning Nigeria, our focus is on the girl child and how we can change the narrative and amplify the voice of the rural woman. let's listen to these background reports together, and when we come back, we'll begin our conversation.
Every October, the world pauses to reflect on the rights, dreams, and challenges of the girl child. But in Nigeria, the story goes beyond awareness. It's about rewriting the script for generations to come. From classrooms in Zamfara to innovation hubs in Lagos, Nigerian girls are proving that when given opportunity, they rise. Not just for themselves, but for their communities. The federal government's various empowerment initiatives, alongside private and civil society efforts, are expanding access to education, digital literacy, and mentorship for young girls. Yet, barriers remain. Child marriage, insecurity, cultural bias, and limited access to quality education still hold many back. Across the country, quiet transformations are unfolding. NGOs teaching coding to girls in Kano, state governments funding return to school programs, and traditional rulers working to protect and uplift the girl child. Experts say changing the narrative begins with inclusion, letting girls' voices be heard in classrooms, councils, and communities. Because investing in the girl child is not charity, it's smart governance. A society that empowers its daughters secures its future. And as Nigeria moves towards its Vision 2030 goals, the true measure of progress may well lie in how far every girl can dream and how freely she can pursue that dream. Today on Good Morning Nigeria, our guests, experts in gender equality, education, and community development, will discuss practical strategies for building a Nigeria where every girl can grow, learn, and lead.
Very much, Ibrahim, for that background report. And joining us to discuss the girl child and changing the narrative is 0CTOBER. She is an educationist and head teacher, Great Heights Academy. You are welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
All right. Also here is Comrade Omang Dave. He's the team lead of Eldorado Alliance of Civil Society for Sustainable, Inclusive, and Transformative Education, ASITE Regional Coordinator for South-South Forum. Glad to have you, Dave.
My pleasure being here. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Asma Obenzi-Leo is, of course, a known face, Executive Director, Center for Nonviolence and Gender Advocacy in Nigeria, and we're very glad to have her.
It's my pleasure always. Good morning, viewer.
We have another guest, Ebi Emezwe, Director, Training and Development, Maramba Bangida National Center for Women Development, and she's also former Assistant Technical to former Permanent Secretary of Women Affairs and Social Development. And we are hoping that she will join us in a short while. When she comes in, we'll give you all her details because I have quite a lot here. Demola, you want me to start or you want to?
Go ahead.
No. You are the father. You start. So we're trying to change the narrative.
No, we're trying to change the narrative actually. So
that's why I should start from you.
Okay. So let's start from Hanatu now. Tell us, what are the major problems actually facing the girl child?
Well, for the girl child, I think it's more about her being misunderstood or her role being misunderstood. For a long time, she has been taught to shrink, to settle, and to be silent. And so when the opportunity came for her voice to rise, it became as if it was overemphasized, as if it was a voice we needed to bring up and then suppress the boy child's voice. That can't work for us because a lot of time we talk about equality, but I think what we are looking for is equity.
Equity?
Yes, because we can't say the girls and the boys must be equal if from the starters, even our anatomy is not the same. So when you say equality, Are you saying, for example, that if you have to provide shoes for people, then you bring the same size and say everybody should wear the same size? No. You bring shoes that fit everybody. So for the girl child, what we want for her is that as we are amplifying her voice, we want people to understand that we want to see her uniqueness and support her in her uniqueness. That is what we need for the girl child. Otherwise, we'll keep running in cycles, going on and on about the same thing. Yes.
Okay.
You know, Aleto, I'm glad you are a teacher, and not just a teacher, you are the head teacher in a girls' school here in Abuja. So I will start on a different perspective. Demola has started with challenges, but I won't start with the problems. I will start with you reliving a memorable situation involving probably the girl child, a brave girl, and what she did, you know, that you think that caught your attention, that you think could make her inspire the world.
All right. So I'll talk about my own childhood, growing up as a northern girl. It was a struggle to get girls to go to school and then have aspiring careers. Most times, even when during my era, when education was allowed for girl child, but they were choosing the career path for us. They'll say, okay, since you're another girl and you need to go to school, how about you just be a teacher? Or you just be a nurse, and even in the nursing profession, be a midwife, so that you could deliver babies of your fellow women. But there was one particular girl, and because we went to the same Islamic school, but economic background-wise, she was from a quite poor home, and even the exposure for education wasn't there. So they needed her to get married at 14. I was just in SS1 then. She was like in JS2 then. But she found a way to get the teachers to go to the house and talk to the parents that she wanted to still continue her education. And even as she got married, she was in a government secondary school then. She went to school pregnant, even though then it was something that was strange. And she struggled. She went to school pregnant. At a point in time, the marriage got dissolved. She continued. There were lapses. After like 4 years, she had to stay at home. She came back. And today, she actually is a PhD holder. She's a lecturer. And she has gone back to that community and even the communities surrounding hers. And she's advocating for children to go to school. She has an NGO.
Fantastic.
Yes, she has an NGO where she gets teachers to go to the rural area and teach the children there. But one thing she's doing that is interesting is that she's dialoguing with the rural, the traditional rulers there. She's letting them see that she's talking about accommodation. So even though the girls have to go to the farm, for example, they don't learn the conventional way we learn. So their school is from 4 to 6. Because the children in that area have to go to the farm. So she accommodated that. Then she has also another class for married women, because a lot of young girls have been married before getting to even finish their primary school. And what she's saying to them is that, yes, you're a community, you have your values. If you don't want strangers to come in to destroy your values, how about we educate ours and tell them the kind of education we need so that they will now be the teachers of our children. That was the reason why the traditional rulers agreed for their married women to go to that school.
So that's a fantastic, inspiring, memory you've relived for us. But Omar, do you know of any brave girl child that is inspiring the world today?
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians. It's interesting to know that the narrative is quite changing. And as it was many years ago, either due to lack of education or the kind of awareness that children are receiving these days, sometimes you see children being deprived, especially from their parents, maybe their mothers, because that she took over from her mother or her aunt or something, or relatives. So I had this friend who sometimes were in the primary school and later on secondary school, and somehow in the south, Of course, children were given the opportunity to go to school, but somewhere along the line there was no fund. And the father was an uncle, now rushed to say, wanted the son to go to school because they were economically not balanced. And I thought that, look, she is a girl. Anything can happen if she stays back at home. So what now happens is let her go. So he sacrificed.
Let her go to school.
Yes, he sacrificed his own position for the girl, for this younger sister. So he stayed, I think, 1 or 2 years afterwards. His younger sister went to school, graduated even himself. Now, he was even having this kind of tendency of, my younger sister will graduate before me and possibly go further, I will be here. But he was talked to by, the father had the understanding of the father and neighbors and the village people as it were then. And they spoke to him and he understood. But the problem now is, the daughter now went to the Polytechnic. Later, I think she went to do her BSc or something and got a master's. And the beautiful thing is that the lady now came back to the community to begin to encourage others and did a celebration to thank the father because it was in a village. And you know, the way it is, children, most people just say the girl child doesn't need much of this education. So, and it's like a norm, it's acceptable and nobody queries you.
I like that dream. Thank you, Omar. I have my story. But
Because that is strange. Because exactly. When you look at the cultural setting in Nigeria and the societal expectations, you don't expect such a thing.
That's why I said. That's why
it was even my cousin.
Yeah,
it was my cousin. The guy was my cousin.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. You have any story you want to share with us?
Yeah, for me, it's an everyday girl because the resilience of the Nigerian girl child is something that is worth celebrating, especially on an everyday level. For me, why this topic is also very key and critical for me is because it was through the girl child education program that I started my NGO way back in 2000. 1999-2000 when I was serving in Jigawa State.
Okay.
I came to Jigawa State as a copper and to do my national youth service. And I discovered that every day we go out, you find out, it's not surprising because I'm a northerner and I see that every day. I see girls going to hawk in the market, and so they form like a cooperative. Every time they go together and they move home together. So I was like, this is an opportunity for me as a northern girl to also impact in the life of these ladies, young girls. I think they're between the ages of 9 to 14. So though they were younger ones too, but I think I focused on those that were like 8 to 14. So I went to the Women's Center then because I was serving with the government house. Went to meet the director of the Women's Center then. I don't know whether those centers still exist because those days they used to build one women's center in each of the local governments in Nigeria. So I went and met the director and I told her about my proposal of having a kind of out of school, maybe like, or what do they call it? I don't know how they call it, but this kind of after school program that you offer to yes, maybe alternate school. It has a lot of people call it by different names. So I did that with some coppers. We came together because I sold the idea because I couldn't do it alone. There were many. There were quite many. So what we do is that some of them come in the mornings and some of them come in the evenings because it's strictly a weekend. Because for coppers also, we also need to go to our places of primary assignment. This was how I started. And that earned me an award from the NYSC. So right from there, after my 1 year, I was motivated. I was like, wow, this little thing I started can actually be recognized and be rewarded. Then maybe I have to do more. That was how my NGO started.
Thank you.
After I left my service year, I started my NGO.
Thank you.
Immediately after that.
Thank you.
That's an interesting story.
I have my own story. I have my own story.
Okay.
And since we're talking about the girl child, I'll just give you snippets of my yet to be published memoir. I come from a family you could call a very modest family, a family you would call of little means. So you all know what that means, So of course I attended the public schools in Lagos you call Jacondi schools. Is the schools where people from my background, go. Then it used to be free education and all that. Now the time came for me to go to secondary school, and my father, who was just a worker somewhere, said he wanted me to go to. There was a school in Obalinde, one of the prestigious schools in Lagos. Then it was Holy Child College, and my father wanted me to go to Holy Child College, and you had to sit common entrance. You had to pay some fees, but we didn't have the money. My mother just ran a small kiosk that I managed for her. I was the accountant. I was everything. So after school, I will go there. But my father insisted. My mother, there was this quarrel between my father and my mother. My uncle wanted me to get married. My mother wanted me to go to other schools, popular schools. But my father insisted that he wanted me to attend Holy Child College. And that's because his boss then, the children of his boss, attended Holy Child College. So somehow the money was raised and I bought the common entrance. My uncle eventually agreed, and they bought the common entrance form, and I sat. The day the results came out, someone told my father. My father ran out from me. Hey, go and check. They said the result was out. I was in my tattered, dress. I couldn't even go near the children of the rich, but I was just peeping. Eventually, I saw my name. My name came out.
Claire. All right. All right. Okay, that's good. Good story.
And I got...
You're being emotional now.
Yes.
Anyway,
I got admitted into Holy Child College, Lagos.
If not, we would not have had you here, sitting here.
Absolutely. And
all right.
I was the only girl from a modest home during my set. And I had complex. I could not compete with the whites, with the children. So I sat at the back of the class. But you know what? By the end of the first term, out of 39 pupils in the class, I was 9th. And that gave me the courage. By the second term, I was 6th. By the third term, I was 6th. And that's how I now entered into the clique. And today, and I know that I'm making Holy Child College students very proud. And I'm here inspiring a lot of people. And I'm doing my PhD, almost 60. I'm doing my PhD.
Congratulations.
So, that is the narrative we want the girl child today. We don't want any girl child to be deprived of education because of her background, because of lack.
Okay.
So that's why I want to go around again, starting from you. With the stories that you've heard, how does that make you think about the limitations, our laws, about the girl child and, in fact, the rural woman, the woman in the rural areas?
Thank you very much. There are a lot of laws, and these laws are not anti-girls or anti-women. They are laws that are enablers, laws that create an enabling environment for every girl, child, every woman in Nigeria to thrive. We have the National Gender Policy, which is there. It has all the provisions that we need as Nigerian women in terms of legislation. We have the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, which also supports and also ensure that the rights of women are protected and violence is not being perpetrated against women. We equally have laws like the gender in education policy for the Ministry of Education, whereby there is a quota, setting quota that every girl child should go to school at every region in Nigeria. So we are not lagging behind in terms of laws. The laws are there. But what we need to do is to ensure that the provisions made in those laws are implemented. Like in the National Gender Policy, of course, it talks about so many aspects of our national economy. Agriculture is there, security is there, humanitarian aspect is there in terms of women in governance, women in the economy, blue economy. Whatever you need is there in the policy. But how many women know that? How many of those organizations that are supposed to key into those policies are doing so? They are not. Just 35% quota system for women in terms of both elective and appointed positions. you hardly find women there. So for us, I think we should even have to look back. The laws are not the issue, but laws are being implemented by human beings, by institutions. Do we have the strong institutions that can enforce these laws? Do we have men and women that have the political will to be able to enforce that? We don't. So I think we have to work together. This is something that has to be both interagency collaboration and multi-sectoral in approach, whereby everyone can come together and say this issue concerns women, concerns girls, and so we should make it a priority. Every girl you see, every woman rather you see today was a girl before she became a woman. Every girl has an aspiration. Every girl has a vision of what she wants to be in the future. But the more they grow older, that's how you see these visions collapsing, because there is no support, either from the family, from the society, even from the schools. They tell us a lot of times that women cannot do it.
Our family's perception about the girl child education, have we seen any change? Because like we shared, like he said, the father, consented to the girl going to the school. You heard my story. My father insisted that I must have a good education. But in some cultures, it's not like that. We are still having, especially the men, wanting the girl child to just get married, and while the boy child, goes to school. Do we see any change in that narrative?
Sure, a lot of changes have occurred. A lot, I can tell you, even at the community level. People are beginning to see the importance of educating the girl child, because now in Nigeria we have models, women we could point at, women like Amina Mohammed at the UN. This is the first time an African woman is occupying such an exalted position, not just in our nation, but globally. Looking at women like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who is also the first, I think, African to occupy that position. So we have women that today, during our time, if you say you want to be a great woman, who do you point at? Who do you look up to? But today, young girls don't have any excuse. Honestly, families don't have excuses. Even when you're talking about Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, okay, you say, okay, some of them are privileged. There are some of us that are not privileged, but we fought our way through. You are, like you said, an example. Hannah is an example. I am an example. I didn't come from a wealthy home. I came from an average home, but with the support of my family, I am where I am. You're talking about PhD. Of course, I'm also a PhD holder.
Wow.
By the grace of God. So what are we saying?
All right.
So many girls will have to look at us tomorrow and say, if Asmao can do it, if you can do it, if Hannah can do it, then we can do it. That's all we need, role models.
All right, role models. Okay, let's bring in Hannah again to this discussion. I mean, you have listened to Asmao saying that there are laws, but the problem is the implementation of these laws. Is it as a result of societal expectation that we are having all these limitations concerning the girl child?
Yes, it's part. But like she mentioned something subtly, human beings are the ones that implement these laws. And the problem is, as she said, every woman today was a girl yesterday. So if we want to break these barriers, we have to start from the beginning. Because we are looking at, okay, even in the family setting, even in the school setting, maybe it's the men that aren't forthcoming or aren't embracing it. But I tell you for a fact that some girls, their dreams are being crushed by their own mothers. Because the mothers don't know any better. The cycle hasn't been broken. So we have the mothers telling their children that, their girls, that you can't do this, do something else. This is what is meant for girls. So until we start from the grassroots and begin to disabuse this narrative, this mindset we have, we'll continue to have the problem. The rules are there, the laws are there, even if at school level, okay, because I work in a private school, it's easier. But when you go to public schools, even if the teachers are trying to tell the girls that you can do it, if they go back home and their parents, their own mothers aren't supporting them, then you see that with time, their dreams begin to dim, the light dims slowly. So we really need to have a campaign and awareness where we try to see that that cycle is broken. The mothers we have today,
how do we begin to change the mindset of the grown-ups now? That is the mothers that you talked about. Because without them having a reset, we still have this challenge, will still be there. So how do you talk to them?
Well, we
Because,
need to have,
earlier on you talk about equity, not equality. Okay, go ahead.
so we need to start more campaigns, more programs like this, and the ones that we can take down to the rural areas, whether physically or programs like this for them to see. The most important thing is for them to realize that it's equity we are fighting for. Because any foreign law you bring in, if people see that their values, their culture is not reflected in it, they are more likely to fight it. So when you bring it down to them and let them see their values in what you're saying, it's easier. For example, going back to the north, because in Nigeria we know that we have more out-of-school girls in the north than any other region. It's because they hide behind culture, they hide behind religion. So when you're able to let them see that that religion they follow actually supports this, and that we are not saying that we want to empower women so that they become the heads of the family. No. We want to empower them so that they can stand on the same pedestal. It's easier for them to accept what we are talking about.
Hanatu, thank you. I want to still remain with you before we go around again. And, I think it was is it UPN party? Awolowo's party? Mm-hmm. Yes, that started the free education policy, which gave people like me and million, other children, in Lagos State at the time.
Not only Lagos, Southwest.
The opportunity to have education, free education. At the time, the quality of education in the public schools, was top notch. You could tell that if I had to, sit and pass a common entrance at that, there was.
We all went to public schools, actually.
Exactly. So the quality then was top notch. And then with time, things started changing. Quality started deteriorating. Private schools started springing up. Cost of attending, schools started getting out of reach of families. And that's why you have, probably, apart from insecurity, a lot more children, the girl child, are out of school today. You are head teacher in a private school here in Abuja. Are there concrete steps that you have taken to bridge this gap in terms of access and affordability for the girl child?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. You're right. Because of the onslaught of private schools everywhere, they are springing everywhere, and then their tuition fees are actually out of reach of the less privileged. It's actually difficult for them to go to those schools. And then with the economy in general, people are trying to survive. And the government isn't really funding the public schools as is expected. So you find out that more teachers are moving away and wanting to be in private schools. So you can find out a beautiful structure of a public school if you go to the rural areas, and then there's a population of students, but there are no teachers. I think what we need to do is to realize the peculiarity of our situation and start making do with what we have while we still advocate for more from the government and from other stakeholders. For example, we could adapt correspondent learning. Like the first story I talked about when I talked about the girl that inspired me. She's someone I know, and I know what she's doing back down in Kaduna State, Zaria. And I was on a call with her like 2 months ago, and I was thinking, she said her concern is that rural areas, those rural areas she's helping, sometimes she can only give them 1 or 2 teachers. And then you have children, 200, 300, 400. Those people can work, and it's as if her dream is not being actualized. And I said, why not we try correspondent learning? This could be a solution. If we have recorded classes.
We used to have correspondent learning. I think there was a time it was stopped.
But it's on now.
It's still on now.
Yeah, it's still on.
Unfortunately, there are so many rural areas that do not have access to it.
At what level are you talking about now?
Primary school.
Primary school.
Yes. Okay, not primary school.
Because they need to learn,
yeah,
and we don't have enough teachers to teach.
That's true.
So if we could bring that down to that level, at least it will starting from somewhere.
How might it work? Because you're talking about at the primary level, how might it work?
It's a lot, actually. A lot of planning needs to go in. Some resources need to go in, because we're talking about they need to have internet connection. You need to bring in probably a television
that's
set.
A big challenge.
Yes.
The internet and all that.
They
for them to have access to.
They need to engage, but that's personal engagement will not be there. I mean, at that level, you need to have a one-on-one, interaction, cognitive interaction
you're right.
with the people. Correspondence learning, I don't know what you think, Omar.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, coincidentally, I was a member of the former Presidential Technical Working Group called ASP, Alternate School Program, during the the late President Buhari's time. And luckily again, I'm a member right now. On Monday, we're doing a review of another paper, Alternate Learning Pathways, being adopted by the current Minister of Education to see how they could mainstream the, memorize or standardize or memorize education with skillship, and to give children opportunity to be self-reliant and innovative as well. So we had NMEC, we had NC, National Commission for Nomadic Education, National Commission for Mass Literacy, Almajiri Commission. We had UBEC representatives in that commission to have a platform. And the platform, as it were, in the alternate school program, we identified sports like Makoko. For those that have gone to Makoko, it was a sport. I think when we were having the meeting then, the former Minister of Finance, Haja Amina or something, I think she wept when they showed her pictures of children giving birth to children. I mean, let me use a word like that. I mean, the hub. Now, the hub, we identify a hub. You meet with the locals, the chiefs, the opinion leaders that matters in such community. You meet with the Christian or the Muslim heads and talk to them. I went to Gangare in Jos, and it was very interactive, because now the government is taking these schools or this platform to the people. It's not a conventional learning outfit where people have to prepare and go there. Now you give them access to do what they are doing. Maybe they are learning skills or doing one kind of jobs or something. Then you now form, between that time, you create the platform to suit when they'll be free to have that school with trampolines and toilets and all of those things to give them opportunity, especially for the girl child, to use the restroom whenever, or convenience whenever it was. And that was a very good platform, because sometimes proximity matters too. Again, I was in Calabar, I think in July, to help support the Almajiri Commission in terms of identification and mop-up of students to actually see how they can reduce the number of out of schools. What I saw went to Bakassi in Cross River State, went to Akbabuyo, we covered the state. I went to a community where I wept, and all I had to bring out, because the woman said, I have 4 children, my husband has left me, and all of that. And I was like, now, what this woman needs is not even education first, it's to feed. And we looked at, and I tried identifying schools within. The schools were a bit far away. And in this era of insecurity, you don't intend to send children that far. What I'm trying to say is that schools, localization of schools, should be within reach of this community.
Especially
the primary school. Now, there's this unique thing about the girl child. Let me come back home again. I just wanted to give a general picture of how it could work. Now, the girl child is very unique. And unless the community, you see, whether we like it or directly or indirectly, our track goes back to our villages or culture or community. For some of us that are in town, we belong to our village or community meetings. And there are certain things you do that tell you don't come back to the village, because that's a taboo. All right? Now, somebody from the south now says, okay, because her father has died and they are sharing whatever, and you give to a girl child, he tells you, sorry, from a tribe, God forbid. It does, you know what that means? God forbid. How do you do it? Because you know that thing is not supposed to be done. And because I'm enlightened, I'm educated, and I want to do it. And because you or the 3 of you now forms sort of a gang up against me, there's a possibility that you may report me back to the village or to our community, to our chief, that Mr. This is doing this. Naturally, I begin to go back or relent from the effort or the stride I want to do. So a lot needs to be done within the community level. So now, in the course of when the girl child issue is mentioned in Nigeria, what comes to mind is the deprivation, the vulnerability, the dependency. Not seeing a girl child like a champion, like a goal-getter, somebody who is capable, who is reliant, who is independent, who is a pace setter, who can bring about change, somebody who can bring about transformation, positive transformation, inspire people. Because a mindset has been created. And the mindset that is created is a mindset of, no matter her level of education, she ends up in the kitchen. No matter her education, as a girl child, let's use STEM, science, technology, or technical and engineering, mathematics. This set of things are not meant for women. And unless we begin to break it to see the girl child as a pathfinder, a girl child who is competitive with a male counterpart, the girl child begin to feel that deprivation, begin to feel that numbness, that this is what the culture has said. And what is the gateway? The gateway is education empowerment. When the girl child is empowered, it gives her the leverage. And of course, begin to identify people that are role model for the child to begin to look up to. Some of the stars we had today had their role models from what they saw. There's something with educationers will say the heart of a child is like a blank slate, a tabula rasa. Yeah. So when he sees and hears, he or she begins to be inspired by the activities. Naturally, she begins to do the things that that woman does, and how can that be done? That can be done by storytelling, by what we call infographics. Doing some infographics, pictures, colorations, and something to show the girl child. I was privileged to be consulting for BESDA, the World Bank project, and what I saw, despite the interventions of government to see that the SBMC, school-based school committee, was being inspired and given all the opportunities, the school level in most of the communities were not getting all of those things because the people in the community were not taking ownership. Some girls were being looked, and some of the washroom that was made wasn't made in such a way that it could accommodate the ladies. And once a girl finds out that she cannot use the washroom, she can't enjoy some of these things, of course, she begins to feel, that the society or the community had not given me that. And the religious leaders need to play a lot of role. Advocacy and awareness is important. The legal framework is important.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I mean, he's just talking about ways in which we can dismantle all these stereotypes, limiting the potential of the girl child. And earlier on, you talked about mentorship. You understand? When you see role models, how do we begin to use these, role model mentorship, to probably bring out the best out of the girl child in this country?
There are a lot of ways. I think first we have to build the agency of the girl child herself. When I say building the agency of the girl child, it means that we shouldn't always, the narrative, talking about changing narratives, we shouldn't always be looking at the girl child as if she's always the victim of circumstances. We begin to look at how she can be translated into becoming a change agent, believing in herself, building her confidence, giving her a voice so that she can stand and advocate for herself. We all assume that we know what girls want. During my time, and one thing I know is that we are not a homogeneous group. Women, there are rural girls, there are urban girls, there are girls with disabilities, there are girls from poor homes, there are privileged girls. So girls are of different categories. But one thing that is a common denominator, or should be a common denominator, is the aspect of them speaking for themselves. You understand? When a girl knows what she wants, and she tells you what she wants, believe her and support her to achieve that which she wants. We always feel that because they are children, they don't really know what they want. I tell you, they do. Think about yourself when you were their age. Did you really know what you wanted? Many of us really say
what they probably need from us will be guidance.
Exactly. That's where it brings us to the aspect of mentorship. Because I'm taking it one step at a time, building the agency, then the aspect of leadership. We have to begin to inculcate leadership skills, soft skills, into our girls from scratch. When they are coming up from age 2, you understand? We shouldn't be shutting girls up. I remember, if I wasn't a confident child by nature, I would have been a very timid child, adult by now. Anytime, because I was really very curious and I love to ask questions. My grandmother thought I was becoming too much. She doesn't even want me, my mother, to be bringing me. When we are coming for a holiday, she will just say, that your daughter that has mouth, let her not come and sell us. You know, in local language. She feels...
Yes,
you are
talking about being outspoken.
Yeah.
How much does the environment in which the girl child is raised impact on that?
This is a natural phenomenon. I wasn't raised in a privileged home, but I was vocal. I was outspoken. The best thing is not even the outside environment. There are many agents of socialization, and it starts with the family. So when the family has created an enabling environment for a child to speak, that is the first thing you need. You don't need validation or endorsement from the outside. For a parent, first start with your child. Ensure that you don't shut up that child. Allow the child to be expressive. For me, my father was a highly gender-sensitive person. He gave us that which he had, and he allowed his girls, and we were many. We were 6 girls, 3 boys, right? So all the girls, he allows us to do whatever we wanted to do, not as in the house. He allows us to talk to him. He sometimes even creates that opportunity that those of us, I was at the middle. So I think that gave me even that I wasn't younger, that I felt timid, and I wasn't the eldest, that I felt, okay, I knew it. I was just a curious child, and I was at the middle of the family. So anytime I come, and I ask my grandmother, why is this? Why is that? Who is this one? This and that. So she felt, no. In this village, you don't ask questions.
But they will tell you.
The moment you ask questions, you are targeted.
You know what Demola calls me? You know what Demola calls me?
Maybe I would love to know.
Says I talk too much.
Yeah.
Because we're naturally wired to talk.
No. Women generally are wired to talk.
No, that is it's scientific.
You agree
No,
with
but
that.
it's scientific.
No, but that is not about suppressing you in any way. You understand? You can express
being
yourself. No. Some overdo it.
So that's where you need to put a limit.
Yeah, that is what
There also has to be a limit, right? But if a child, what I am saying is that not that you allow the child to just talk, but if a child is inquisitive, it shows that that person is intelligent. So nurture it. But by the time you begin to shut the child down, that child feels, oh, by being inquisitive, I'm wrong. So even when he gets to school, where he needs to ask questions, where he needs to talk, he shrinks, and he doesn't do that. So that brings me to the second point of leadership. Okay. Allowing people to make decisions, allowing the children themselves to influence each other through their actions, right? If they're able to do that with confidence, that gives the girl child the ability. Do you know some of us, when we were younger, we were more confident as women? But the older we grow, because they tell us, don't do this, you're not supposed to do that, we shrink. And that's how you find confident girls, timid adult women. So that's the huge divide. And lastly, mentorship. Mentorship, no matter your upbringing, there's always an opportunity to right the wrong, right? By having the proper role models and guardians, people that will put you through, people that will be able to. What do you mean enough? We have, how many women do we have in Nigeria? Mentors do not have to be women, please.
Exactly.
My father was my greatest mentor. I had a mother, but my father was my greatest mentor.
Absolutely.
And he was a man.
Yes.
You understand? How I wish he's still alive to see who I am becoming today. Because this was what he really dreamt for me. This was what he really wanted me to be. And I am walking in his footsteps where he wanted me to be. So men themselves should not say, I'm a man, I can't mentor my girl. You should be your daughter's greatest mentor.
Asma, if I allow you, you will take over this program and become the presenter. So,
see who is talking. Yes. See who is talking. Wait. We already have some comments, which we should read so that they can also.
Please go ahead.
Yes, so that. Hannah too can just respond to some of them. This one is, the girl child's narrative could be changed to an inspiring story if the economy is good, the environment is right, and the culture is reformed. We need to identify specific exploitation, risk associated with girl child at early age, and deploy appropriate policy to mitigate the risk. Now, the second one says, good morning, NTA. I'm Afsat Ibrahim. It was stubbornness that made me to go to school. and with that, I became the first woman in my family to go to school that time. This paved way for others as well. My family started letting their children to go to school. We are proud that with all the effort somebody in my family can stand up as a graduate. Thanks for letting us talk our story, our side of the story. Thank you guys for this. It is really touching thinking about the past. God bless NTA. God bless Nigeria. God bless Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Okay, I have.
Anna, you want to?
Yes.
Let her
Yes.
just respond before you read yours, so that we don't cram everything together.
Yes, talking about cultural, economic, environment reform, I'll still go back to saying support, support, support. Equity, not equality. We're still there. Because when we talk about that, then from the grassroots, we must learn to change the narrative where a brother supports his sister, a father supports his daughter, a husband supports his wife, a cousin supports the female cousin, and so on and so forth. As I'm seated here with you, I'd like to tell you that I became the head teacher just this year. And before then, I know people around me had said something. They said leadership. Even at this stage, even with my education, they are saying leadership shouldn't be for women, and especially for young women like you who are at the childbearing age. Why? Because they feel the leader needs to be around, needs to do a lot of things, and maybe with me being a woman, I'll have to take maternity leaves. When my children are sick, I'll have to take leaves to take care of them. So this is the support until even the men, the women, everybody decides that, okay, a woman can do it. That's why I said it's not equality, because a man does not take maternity leave. And except in rare cases, when a child is sick.
There's paternity leave.
I think it's 2 weeks now, right?
2 weeks. Paternity leave.
3 months, some places 5 months.
Yeah.
And when your child is sick, it's more logical. That is the mother that takes care of the child. If the child is admitted in the hospital, the mother is by the sick bed while the father goes to work. So we still
What
have that.
happens if the father doesn't have work and it's the mother that has work? So she leaves the work and joins the father in the hospital.
Unfortunately, that's what we see. That's why we're still saying change the narrative.
Okay.
And that is where the equity is. Because we are not on the same level. Our anatomy is different. But when we support women, we get better things. That's with the environment, even culture too. I think there was a time it was making waves some years back where a particular student was in class, she was writing an exam and her baby was crying, and the male lecturer collected the baby and was trying to pacify the baby. That's the support we are talking about. That's equity there, not equality.
You know, I want to expand the conversation, because we know that education is key. I mean, they say educate a woman. Yes, and you give light, and you give light to the world. Just hold on, please. And you give light, to the world. I'm just wondering, apart from education, are there other barriers that keep the girl, that hinder the growth, the full growth of the girl? And when I mean barriers, I'm looking at issues of menstruation, because recently the advocacy for menstrual pads to be distributed in schools, is taking root. What about fear of harassment, bullying, rape, violence, and all of that? What do you think is the greatest gap that hinders the growth of the girl child? Let's take example from your school, for instance.
I still come back to education. People need to be aware, because I feel it's the ignorant person that perpetrates these evil deeds. So we still need to understand that as our anatomy is different, the way we are psychologically is also a little bit different. Women need a little bit more help to feel secure, to feel protected. But then again, like I said, even with the advocacy for the female voice, let's not suppress the male voice, because they also are victims of rape, of domestic violence, of bullying. So I feel it's all about talking about it in general and then making it gender specific, but it's still about educating, creating awareness, and ensuring that we enforce the policies, because there are policies, there are laws against this. So I don't think it's particularly a girl-child thing at this stage. Before it was, but in this generation, because for our school we have the nursery, primary, where there are boys and girls. It's the secondary school that is an all-girls school. So we work with all the gender for a while. And I can say for a fact that at this stage we are in this world, both the boy child and the girl child are all at the danger of being raped. They all face the same danger of violence at home. They all face the same danger of neglect at home. Almost at the same level.
Okay, Anatu, you said a lot. I think one of the things you said is that, that there need to be a proper understanding also on the path of the male child as well, to know how you can support the girl child because of the anatomy are different, right? Good. You wanted to say something now?
No, for me, I think one of the major clarifications I really want to make, because I've been hearing us talking about gender equality, equity. We are not trying to. They are all the same. It's just like these two sides of one coin. Anybody talking about gender equality and equity is talking about these two sides of one coin. What does equality mean? When we are talking about equality, we are not talking about men and women being the same. But we are trying to say that in terms of equality, let there be equality in terms of, one, opportunities. When boys have the opportunities, they should not say, okay, it should only be for girls. For instance, in education in the North, can we say there is equality? No. Because when we given the opportunity, parents will prefer to send the male child to school than the girl child. That is why there is no equality. Secondly, equality in terms of privileges, right? Which is also the same as maybe the opportunities. Then equality in terms of right. We don't all have the same right. I can tell you, when I was growing up, I had a brother. The right he enjoys, the privileges he enjoys, I wasn't. But we are all human beings. So when we are talking about this, let us get it clear. Equality in terms of opportunities, not just equality in sexes. Equality in sexes as men and women,
That's
of course.
Proper understanding.
Yes, people have to. That is why in Nigeria, in Africa, we need gender awareness training. People have to be aware, what is this gender? What is gender equality? What is gender equity? And when we say equity, we are talking about it in terms of what? Fairness, justice. So that when we do not perpetrate injustice against the other gender just because maybe they are girls or boys. So this is basically what I wanted to clarify. That when you hear advocates...
But I think we should not go into semantics, because when you talk about equity and equality, yes, there's a thin line of, difference. Like you said, equity is fairness.
And justice.
Equality is same. You give me, you are fair to us. We give everybody, each and every one of us, the same resources to do what we want.
When you say equality,
there are peculiarities. Actually.
I think to an extent, I have been a gender student for more than 20 years of my life. And that's what I want to clarify, because that is the narrative that has been going out. That when you say gender equality, that's why some men hardly want to hear that. Because we need to use this kind of platform to educate. It's very important.
Yes, that there's a difference.
There's a difference. And there is nothing like us saying that when women are advocating for equality, please, we are not saying that we want to be the same, because women want to take over.
No, you know why? You know why I came in?
Yeah.
Because maybe it was a slip, because you said there was no difference.
I said it's a thin line between equity and equality. Equality, of course, is just in terms of opportunities, rights, privileges, and resources.
Absolutely.
But when we say equity, fairness, and justice to both sexes,
I agree with you.
And definitely that's what we are talking about.
I agree with you. So we are not saying, I'm not saying I'm equal with you. You are
definitely.
Man. I'm not.
But that the opportunities you have, I should also have when it avails itself.
Absolutely.
Okay. You have the opportunity.
Yes, thank you. So let me read the
Please
comments
read
that
your
are coming.
Too.
Good morning, Nigerians. Madam, your story is highly inspiring. I am touched after your story was told. I will make sure my daughters are taken to their height in life. Amen. Thank you. I'm Ikechukwu Ugonwa from Aba. Mr. Ugonwa, thank you very much. And please give us feedback. We would like to hear from you more. And this is from Assistant Head Teacher in Abuja, Elder Philip Umoru. Every program aimed at giving hope and opportunity to a girl child to thrive is okay, but something critical is still being overlooked. Nothing virtually is done to sharpen the boy child, who the girl child is going to stay with as a wife, which makes it difficult sometimes for the girl to show her potentials when eventually she becomes an adult. That's Elder Philip Umoru. I think you talked about it, or no, you talked about also not to overlook the boy child as well. And then from Mohammed Anwal Musa Afmai from Kano, change the narrative we need to identify and address the practical barriers that prevent girls from attending and staying in school. Practical barriers. Menstruation is one practical barriers. Harassment, bullying, these are practical barriers. We'll speak to that. Good morning all, well done. Let the girls know that they need legal financial empowerment like boys and should not be dependent on them. Again, let the society stop terrorizing the girl child with the narrative of you must marry young in order to escape menopause. That's another angle. Let the girl child have a breath of fresh air. Thank you, all of you. And we want to even clap for the fathers who have supported the girl child. Thank you. Let's take a promo. When we come back, all right, thank you very much for staying with us, and good morning, Nigeria. And it's been very emotional and indeed enlightening conversation we're having about the girl child. Of course, we're not forgetting the boy child as well, since we're all talking about equity and not equality. We read some questions earlier on. We have more coming up, so let me quickly take them. This one says, humanity is built with a desire to appreciate value that creates solutions. For that reason, families will love to see their children, be it male or female, thriving. But how does double standard create constraints here? That's the question. How does double standard create constraints here? The importance of providing opportunities for the girl child to harness her potential cannot be overstated. As the world evolves, it's evident that girls can significantly contribute to betterment of their countries and the world at large. Of course, he went on to mention Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Amina Mohammed, Ubi Ezekwesili, hadn't invested in their education. I mean, if their parents didn't invest in their education, they wouldn't get to where they are today. And this is from Chike Dim in Delta Warri. He said, I agree with the insightful perspective of the lady in the studio that what the girl child needs is equity rather than just equality. This shift in narrative is crucial, and it's imperative that we implement this change now. Equity and not equality. That's what we're asking for. Chinda Gazama from Borno State. Good morning. African societies, particularly Nigerian culture, often do not promote gender equity and equality. This has been a major barrier in all aspects. However, promoting education for all gender, enforcing gender-sensitive laws and policies, empowering women economically, and raising awareness about the importance of equality can help bridge this gap and create a more inclusive society. Do you have more?
Yes, but let Omar just respond to some of these comments so that I don't mumble everything up.
Double standards.
Let me go first with equity, whether equality, as it were. If you ask me, I'll just say semantics. Well, because now a lot of awareness needs to be carried out for understanding. Because if there's no awareness, understanding becomes a problem. And I will commend, again, by saying that the civil societies and most organizations are doing a lot, but a lot still need to be done. We have some cultures that frowns against some of these things when it comes to girl child education. Now, the girl child is being modeled as a block or somebody that is just awaiting to get married, and afterwards, you don't need to talk. You just need to be there. You are like an instrument. You are like a tool. Like in the case of Nigeria, whenever the issue of a girl child is mentioned, 2 or 3 things comes to mind. The lot of vulnerability. The girl child just sees herself, in the case of Nigeria, as somebody that is not independent. You need to be dependent to survive. Because if you have that in your mind that, look, I am going to grow up to become independent, what happens to you? You begin to strive. You begin to look at the odds. You begin to weigh the options of what to do and what not to do. You begin to take the tide as it comes. When it comes too tough, you go down. Going down doesn't mean that you have retreated or gone off. You just take a leave, prepare yourself, and shoot again. Because, of course, there are setbacks, deprivation, discrimination, and all the odds that are associated with them. So when they come, what do? You take them as one of those things that are common. And why is it common? Because there's no proper legal framework that defends you appropriately. Because once you know that you are being defended, there are laws that stands or frowns greatly against rape, against discrimination, against gender bias, against early marriage. You know you have a right. Just like a child in America will tell you, you don't mess around with me because I know my right. And when the girl child knows her right, she tells you have actually infringed on my right. Okay. And based on that, I'm going to take it up with you. Imagine the girl child telling you this and goes to the police, and the police takes it up and finds out that investigates it further and discovers that, quite frankly, this lady's or girl child...
The police, this type of police...
No, I'm just saying in the proper and sane society.
Okay.
In the proper and sane society.
All right.
And the child now sees herself, the girl child now sees herself that, okay, her right, whatever she was reported or she reported the case, has been taken seriously. What do you think that child is going to grow up as?
Okay.
She's going to grow up with the mindset that her rights, her privileges are being protected. And once that is done, the sky is just a starting point. And what she does is she tells other ladies or children that are within that location to say, keep doing what you're doing. Because I know too well that one day I was like you and this is where I am. Yeah, it's like this today, but tomorrow is going to get better. Let not your setback be an opposite, or your failure be the opposite of success. Let the setback be a stepping stone to your success.
That's talking about the issue of mentorship and role models.
Awesome.
Sorry, I wanted Omar, yes, because I'm happy he mentioned, he's the one saying this. And in some cultures, in some, in our country, in our own culture here, some parts of the country, the southeastern part especially, there's this belief, and we've seen videos, of a couple who got separated. In fact, the man left the woman because she had all 4 female children. Unfortunately for him, the 4 female children, grew up and all became doctors, and he wants back. Now, we have this mentality common, especially in the southeastern part. Of course, the north have their own. So how do we,
the cultural limitations.
Cultural limitation. How can we change that perspective so that, men don't believe that if you have all female children, they are probably a hindrance to his, growth.
No, they don't see it as hindrance, actually. They just see that who is going to continue the
his growth. Yes, his longevity. Yes.
Something like that.
The Nigerian culture or the Nigerian society is mostly patriarchal. Yeah? And the society, I'll go back again, has played a great role in all of this narrative. Now, what I'm saying about the society is, what do you think about yourself?
Big question.
Now, I was smiling when you were asking this question. I'm a proud father of 4 beautiful daughters.
Wow.
Proud.
We shouldn't be clap for him. Yes.
And I've heard from aunties, uncles, friends, in fact, trying to matchmake me with. My wife hasn't had this. Maybe if she'll be listening, she'll hear this. Trying to say, my mother's elder sister now said, why not come to our village? There's one girl that is... So I did as if I didn't hear. And severally, she brought it very clear. So don't you think that you've been very nice, you've done beautiful things, you're good, and your legacy need to be kept and carried on to the later. This is real for real and me. And I laughed. I said, if you're not talking, I'll just laugh. Because on one of the last times that I had to respond because she kept saying it. I said, Mama, what do you think of my daughters? They are doing well. And I'm proud of them. Because I have to hit it. If I don't, she'll keep putting pressure. And someday, maybe, I could just change my mind because there's pressure. And I told her, Mama, I'm happy for my children. They are doing well. They're not a disgrace. What do you think? What do you think? She said, well, you see, in Nigeria, if you pass on now, somebody need to continue your... I said, well, my daughters will. And when push comes to shove, they will answer my name before their husband's names. So my name continues. And I tell you frankly, that actually stopped. Because she was calling me almost on a weekly basis. That have I made that consideration? When am I coming home? If I come home, I should try to stop by that there's this girl pressure.
But this addition of your name when they get married is not consistent with the tradition or with the faith of people from your region. I mean, they say when you get married, I don't know, that's another conversation entirely, but
Yes,
because you brought it up.
No, because you said something about the man from the east that had
Yes.
4 girls.
Yes.
It's peculiar. It's not generic, right?
Yes.
Now that of the east, they like this continuity of their names.
Yeah.
The question is continuity of whose name that does what? We have seen male children with due respect that does.
Next to nothing.
When we have seen women doing exceedingly very well, I have no regret and apology to anybody tell me that if I didn't have the children? So what? But I have this, and I shouldn't be happy with them. And who knows what they're going to come up. Like we were discussing earlier, I told them one of my daughters.
At worst, you can adopt. You can adopt a male child if you want. Anyway, let's just...
No, we are not saying adopt. We are looking at the girl child.
No, I'm just saying that if the pressure is mounting, seriously, and you really want to preserve that lineage that you talked about, there's nothing wrong for you to adopt a male child.
How many girls do you have, Demola?
I have 2.
We don't count. In the Bible, we don't count our children.
All right. Okay.
Asma.
Okay. Let me just read this out so that Asma can respond to this because of our time. The African culture is deeply rooted in the discrimination of girl child. That's why the ecstasy at the arrival of a female child is nothing compared to that of a male child. And our culture does not recognize you as a real man until you are able to replicate yourself in a male child. Until this is tackled, there is a wider reorientation amongst African men. The narrative might still remain with us for long. That's Omololu B.A. This one is Chidima Gadzema from Borno State. It says, "Good morning. African societies, particularly Nigerian culture, often do not promote gender equity and equality, and this has been a major barrier in all aspects of life. However, promoting education for all genders, enforcing gender-sensitive laws and policies, empowering women economically, and raising public awareness about the importance of equality can help bridge this gap and create a more inclusive society." This one is from, I think it's still the same thing. Okay, maybe you can respond to that.
Okay, I think basically what I will keep saying is education, awareness creation, advocacy. And why is this so passionate to my heart? Because this is the entire framework of what our organization stands for.
Okay.
Our organization, the Center for Nonviolence and Gender Advocacy in Nigeria, is basically, we are not a donor-funded organization as such. What we do, that's why you keep seeing me on TV from one level to the other. What we owe the people is to educate them. And education can be in any form. Sensitization, what we are doing now. So people will say we are creating awareness, but we are also educating because it has an ability to change the mindset and the thinking of people. And I think basically this issue of gender roles is about education. It's about creating awareness. It's about advocating to the people that have the mandate or really have the power to change this narrative. And who are these people? Our mothers, our great-grandmothers. They are the custodian of our culture. Sometimes we are quick to pick at men and say it's patriarchy, but who is the custodian of this patriarchy? It's the women, the mothers, the grandmothers that makes all these cultural norms, they translate it from one generation to the other.
That's true.
They give birth to boys. We all give birth to boys. How do you groom the boy child? What do you teach the boy child? How do you make him take responsibility for his actions? It's all the work of women. And so that is why it is important for us to look at the culture itself and how we can change culture. Exactly. As long as we do not change our culture, or maybe we can't change culture ultimately, the entire culture. Yes. Yeah, but step by step, we can do something. And it has to start with our grandmothers. Let me cite an example of female genital mutilation. When I went to Senegal for a study tour. The World Bank sponsored us to go for something at one organization called Tostan. And one of the key things we discovered, Tostan has been in Senegal for 30 years, more than 30 years. It was an American that came in the late 70s and established that organization. And she has been working with communities to see how she can eradicate all these cultural norms and values. One of it was the FGM. In Senegal, you don't say mutilation. They take offense. They said, if you call it mutilation, our culture does not call it mutilation. They call it honor. So how do you work with what people call honor and you call it mutilation? That is why you need what? Awareness. When she began to work with them and she began to change the narrative, they started adopting into her way of thinking. And that was how a lot of communities had to do what? They had to relinquish that way of life and they adopted. But you have to give an alternative. It is also, let's look at the socio-economic implication of that. Some women, especially older women, that has been a business for them all their life. When they cut the child, they give them either money or goods or something. There is a compensation for their action. You cannot come today and say, let me stop my business because there is a superior culture that wants to change the narrative.
Alternatives.
Exactly, and that was what they did.
All right,
she provided.
Asma, because of time, we need to cut you.
Also, yes.
Because we just have to also look at the plight of the rural women as well. Because when it comes to health challenge and what they face, how do we begin to address the plight of the rural women? Hannatu.
Thank you so much. So you see, before you even talk about saying you're taking education to the rural society, you have to look at their immediate needs.
Okay.
Which is one of them is the health.
Health, yes.
We're talking about proper food, access to quality water, safety of the environment, and then their health, right from the menstrual health till pregnancy, till childbirth.
Yeah.
So until we look at all these, their challenges, that is why it's more difficult for certain rural societies to listen to you when you say you're bringing free education and you're telling them the importance of education. These are their main priority. Almost every day a woman is dying due to childbirth because there are not enough facilities to cater for them. There are girls, when you say go to school and they don't have enough sanitary materials to take care of themselves, to go to class, they can't go to class and get themselves stained. So they wouldn't go. You're also talking about hunger. You're saying they should come to school and the parents are telling their children, fine, you can go, but if you don't go to the farm, there won't be food when you come back. So until we begin to address these most important needs of theirs, we can never talk about
the school feeding program. I don't know if it's still. I don't know how effective that is.
Yeah, in certain societies.
The school feeding program, which was initiated to address the gap, the issue of feeding in schools and all that. Omar, quickly, yes.
When you talked about the school feeding, I couldn't control. Well, it's they are still trying to introduce it. Most schools in the past took advantage, and some politicians bastardized it. And in most areas, it didn't really work well. But I'm proud to say again here that the Federal Minister of Education has graciously appointed part of us from Alliance of Civil Society to be members of the private school initiative to monitor the activities. The other one on school feeding to monitor part of the activities because of our spread in the nation. The other one on NMEC, and the others two on Almagerian out of school. And part of the spending on what happens around there, so as it concerns the SBMCs. Now, on the issue of rural women, a lot needs to be done. A lot of economic empowerment need to be done at those areas. Just like the general saying that we have, educate the boy child, educate the community. Educate the girl child, educate the nation. Any woman that is educated, I tell you frankly, will go all out to do everything humanly possible to see that she gives her daughter or her daughter education, because she knows what education has done to her or for her. So when you educate a woman in that form, and economic empowerment, well, you mean innovation, giving them other skills, entrepreneurship, grow them in skills, setting up hubs where they could improve themselves and possibly
The
learn
cash
skills.
transfers, isn't it?
No, it's part of another program.
The social safety net.
Social safety net, conditional cash transfer to women in the locality.
Yes.
Now, while we're discussing this at the level of the alternate school program then, so why not the men? We say, no, the men will either use to drink, marry more wives, or something. So the best option was to give to the women who were custodian of those children.
Okay.
And that was why they resorted to that. Then the next thing again in regard to that is their mental health, well-being. Like rightly stated, how many primary health care do we have in the rural areas? Are there enough to cater for the pregnant women? Are there enough to cater for, because distance is a problem. Because these children or the girl child cannot access health care. And once they can't access health care, a lot, because the biological, the biological system of a girl child differs from that of a boy. She needs more attention, health-wise and stuff. So when all of this are provided, I think when the women are empowered, number one, giving mental health, well-being, it's very important.
Okay.
Skill and innovation is very important.
Let me just take question, and then we end up with Asmao. As a male advocate, for gender equity, how are you bringing the men into this conversation as partners? Briefly, in 60 seconds.
Okay, there's something I want to bring up that is not very common. Just a few days
60 seconds, we have 2 minutes.
Sorry, yes, a few days ago was International Day of the Girl Child. What happens is that we always see women seated, being talked to. We don't see the men. You need to bring the men.
Yes, so
because these men one day they will grow from boys to man. Or boys to men. So when they get this education, someday they'll get married.
Proper understanding
the narrative.
That is
when
the
they understand the narrative, they will begin to demystify what their parents may have told them.
Yeah.
When they don't understand, it is what the parents or the father has put in them that they will grow with, and the narrative will
Thank
continue.
you. Thank you.
Sorry, let me
you.
take finally, from the school perspective, how can you, or what practical steps can be taken to get the girls to stay in school?
Well, for us, we have programs where we are empowering them with leadership skills, mentoring, social-emotional learning strategies, and those are the important things we do.
Okay,
with them.
thank you, Anna, too. Okay, Asmao, what advocacy, does your NGO have for rural women to amplify their needs?
There are a lot, because we advocate for almost everything pertaining to women, advocating for their health and well-being, advocating for their economic environment, advocating for the girl-child education, advocating for maternal health and child health, advocating for, especially right now where we are, women, peace and security. So basically, Nigeria has so much issues that when we begin to advocate, but we take one part time, and it all depends on the context. For instance, the advocacy I would do in Adamawa will not be the same advocacy I would do in Zamfara State.
Okay.
The one we would do in Kogi might not be the same for the one in Lagos because of the context. It varies. But whatever be the context, advocacy, education, sensitization, community involvement and engagement is key.
Asma, thank you. And I just would like to conclude this conversation by saying that when a father, Papa, if you say, delay the marriage of your daughter, teacher, keep the girl in school, mother, say to your daughter, finish school first, and of course, society, government, listen. Then we'll change the narrative. Asmao, I'd like to thank you very much. Asmao, of course, Benzi Leo is Executive Director, Center for Non-Violence and Gender Advocacy in Nigeria. Thank you very much for joining us for this interesting conversation. 0CTOBER, educationist and head teacher, Great Heights Academy, Abuja. Thank you very much for joining us. Of course, Comrade Oman Dave, team lead of Edu Radio Alliance of Civil Society for Sustainable, Inclusive and Transformative Education. Thank you very much. And of course, we are the regional coordinator for South Forum. Thank you very much for joining us.
Claire, you know why I'm excited? Yes. I'm not the only male here today. So.
I know. Thank you for sending in your messages. There were messages I couldn't take, but we acknowledge you. Someone from Abakaleke and, of course, Kanu. Thank you. And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. We thank you very much for joining us. I'm Claire Delabu Abdurrazak. I'll see you next week, Tuesday. Demola will be here tomorrow.
Thank you for joining us.